Welcome back to the show today. We're talking about Rudy Gobert, specifically, and why he seems to be disliked by every NBA player. After last week's incident when Draymond Green tried to put him in the sleeper hold, I heard Patrick Beverley say on his podcast that no one likes Rudy. And Draymond simply used this moment as an opportunity to express his disdain.
Don't nobody like Rudy anyway. It's a perfect moment to do it. Like, fuck it, let me choke Rudy ass.
And I've thought about it, and there are a lot of incidents that prove this fact. I'm just gonna start with the first one that I remember, which is him crying in an interview after he didn't make the All-Star team in 2019.
I think it's disrespectful. I mean, I feel disrespected. It's my legacy. You know, sorry.
So generally in America, expressing yourself by crying is emasculating. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but crying in public tends to make people lose respect for you. I think you're allowed a few good cries in your career if they're tears of joy. Obviously, I have this gif that I use all the time of Giannis crying after he won the championship, and we've got LeBron setting the all-time scoring record, and of course, the Michael Jordan Hall of Fame speech. We love all these moments. They are awesome, but they are earned. Rudy's crying during this interview is just kind of a way for him to get sympathy. I don't think it would have got as much press if he didn't say that he felt disrespected, sort of making himself into a victim. So while it may seem like he was criticized for being sensitive, he was really criticized for being immature. And he was criticized.
Thing I can assure you, if I didn't make it this year, I wasn't gonna cry. I can 100% assure you that. It has to be Rudy. I mean, the man cried on national television when he did make the All-Star team.
The next thing Rudy did was make a joke at the beginning of the pandemic. Gobert was the first player to test positive for COVID. This caused the Jazz Thunder game, March 11th, 2020, to be shut down. Then footage from a few days later where Rudy is doing an interview was exposed, and he made a joke by touching every mic and every piece of the table as he left the room. He was doing this as a joke, and from what I heard in the interview, he said, "I'm not afraid of you," talking to the reporters. So if you look at it from his perspective, he thought the reporters thought he was going to get contaminated, not that he might contaminate them. He was trying to say, like, "I'm not scared of you, I like you, I love you, we're all fine here," which in its own way is sort of self-involved, right? But either way, this blew up, and Rudy became the poster child for poor behavior and ignorance. Most people even still say that Rudy shut down the league. But let's be honest, even if Rudy hadn't done the joke, or even if he hadn't contracted the virus, it was coming. This was gonna happen. This brings me to my next reason, his relationship with Donovan Mitchell, and more generally, his relationship with his teammates. Allegedly, during this time when people were afraid of COVID, Rudy was rummaging through all of his teammates' bags, trying to make a joke of this pandemic, this virus that was coming around, saying he was gonna infect them. But then Donovan Mitchell contracted the virus, and he felt symptoms. He got sick. He was not happy with Rudy, and he was public about it. Now it's public knowledge that the Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert drama was stuff that was drama on the court, and it wasn't really personal. The media was even tracking how many times Mitchell passed the ball to Gobert. They were trying to reignite the drama so they'd have something to talk about. I get it. This was not the case because Donovan Mitchell, after both of them had been traded from the Jazz, said that it was just a matter of opinion on how they should play basketball. They both wanted to win, they just have different ways of doing it. It does seem, though, that Rudy doesn't fit in with the other players on a personal level. In fact, in 2021, he was the last picked for the All-Star team. In 2022, he was basically the last one picked, but Kevin Durant didn't want to pick James Harden out of spite.
I'm gonna need some size for sure. I'm gonna need some size and some defense in the interior, especially with Giannis and LeBron James playing such great basketball this year. I need somebody to offset that, so I'm gonna go with Rudy Gobert.
Also, I noticed in the 2021 All-Star game when I was watching the highlights, every time Rudy would dunk, people would just kind of ignore it and throw the ball back in. I really felt bad for him. He kind of felt like the new kid in middle school that no one befriended because they already had their own friends. This is a thought, it's not really a belief, but I think Rudy is just different culturally than most NBA players, even the European NBA players. There just seems to be some things he doesn't really understand. Like that it's not really in good form to dunk the ball at the end of a basketball game where both teams have kind of decided that they're just gonna run out the clock, or just showing unwanted affection to players on the other team, or even last year when he punched Kyle Anderson for criticizing his effort on the court. Kyle Anderson was on his team, by the way. It seems like Rudy just has a difficult time connecting with other guys. I think more than anything, people just think he's weird and they don't really know how to react to him. He kind of reminds me of Dwight Howard in that way. He's a great defensive player, but he thinks he's better than he is in offense, and he wants to be more involved in the offense. He also wants to be the funny guy, and he wants to make people laugh, but he just doesn't know how, and he ends up coming off obnoxious. But the main reason that people don't like Rudy Gobert is because he represents an archaic style of basketball. And this style of basketball is not conducive to the way that guards want to play the game now. And this goes for his team and the opposing team. Opposing guards hate playing against Rudy because he's always in front of the rack. Rudy is a great rim protector. Guards like iso ball. They like driving to the hoop and then either going up for a layup or dishing it out. That style of player doesn't work when there's a 7-foot dude with good reflexes blocking everything within a 7-foot perimeter of the hoop. Gobert is good. He's led the league in blocks. He's led the league in rebounds. He's been a defensive player of the year 3 times. There is a reason he's surviving in the league right now without a jump shot or not being able to guard anyone on the perimeter. He's incredible at being a classic center. He blocks, he rebounds, he sets screens, and he has a great field goal percentage. The problem is guards on his team don't like playing with him. Donovan Mitchell wasn't happy that there was always a dude standing right in front of where he's gonna drive. He's one of the best rim finishers in the league. Same with D'Angelo Russell. He got shipped out because he couldn't really play with Rudy. Which brings me to my last point. The Timberwolves traded for Rudy last year for a lot of assets. 4 first-round picks, that's crazy, a pick swap, the rights to Kessler Edwards, Patrick Beverly, Jared Vanderbilt, and Malik Beasley, and there was someone else, I forget who. All these guys were flipped by Utah to other teams, meaning that the Timberwolves not only gave up draft equity, but solid players. This is significantly less than the return for Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, or James Harden, all players who are a lot better than Rudy. And being that Gobert doesn't have a lot of support from fans, media members, or even his fellow players, this has been dubbed the worst trade in NBA history. But fortunately for Rudy, the Wolves are playing well, and so is he. It feels like now people are more excited about the future of the Wolves than they are critical of the trade. So ultimately, Rudy falls into this camp of players that I call overrated, underrated, and then overrated again, meaning that they're paid a lot, then they're criticized for being paid a lot, and then when they play well, they're like, oh, they're not that bad. They actually have some value. So a comp for this category would be Trae Young. Both of these guys are going to take a lot of shit for the rest of their careers, let's be honest, because of their attitudes and their play style. But we should all be grateful that we have them in the league. It's a little bit of diversity. To me, it's this narrative of an underdog antagonist who you kind of want to watch succeed, but you also kind of want to watch them fail too. All right, thanks for being here. Please, as always, let me know what I missed. I always reply. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you did not like the video, if you weren't into it, give it a dislike. Praise the Lord, break the law.